Two senior officials from the Biden administration are in South Korea after a visit to Japan. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin will meet their counterparts in Seoul. This as the U.S. says North Korea could be preparing for its first weapons test since President Biden was sworn into office. CNN's Paula Hancock is live in Seoul for us. There were some very tough words for Beijing when they were in Tokyo. Are we expecting similar sort of tough words for North Korea after this meeting?
We could. I mean, it's certainly possible, John. It's going to be one of the main focuses. There's no doubt about that whilst they're in Seoul. Looking at at what North Korea has been saying over the past couple of days, we've heard a lot more from them than we have in quite a long time. Now, we heard from Kim Yo-jong, the sister of Kim Jong-un, slamming the U.S., saying they should, quote, avoid making a stink at the first step, saying if they want to be able to sleep easy for the next 4 years, they have to be careful. And we've also heard from U.S. intelligence, or at least officials in the US, who spoke to Barbara Starr on condition of anonymity. They believe that the US intelligence has assessed that North Korea is close to testing something. It would be the first weapons test since President Biden took office, and also really since about March of last year. There has not been an awful lot coming out of North Korea recently, most believe because they are dealing with the COVID pandemic. So certainly there is a lot to talk about. The US-South Korea military drills are still ongoing. They will end tomorrow, and that is usually something that North Korea reacts to, although this time around they were smaller, we understand, and also largely computer simulated because of COVID as well. So there is no doubt North Korea will be the #1 topic. The US administration also admitting that they have been reaching out to North Korea but have not heard anything and had no response as of yet. John?
Paula, thank you. Paula Hancock there with the very latest in Seoul. Appreciate it. Ambassador Chris Hill served as the Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs. He was Chief U.S. Negotiator with North Korea from 2005 until 2009. He is also the author of Outpost, A Diplomat at Work. He is with us this hour from New York. Ambassador Hill, thanks for being with us.
Pleasure.
Now, in tone and in substance, the remarks made by Secretaries Blinken and Austin on Tuesday made it very clear there is a new administration in the White House and it's putting Beijing on notice. Listen to this.
While we were focused on issues in the Middle East, China has modernized its military. In addition to that, it has engaged in aggressive and in some cases coercive behavior, and some of that behavior has been directed against our allies in the region.
Yeah, so apart from the strong words there, China dominated almost all of the 90 minutes of the meeting between Secretary of State and Japan's foreign minister. So what is Beijing actually hearing from all of this? These tougher words, as well as the warnings and the fence mending with traditional allies, how will that impact Beijing's behavior, do you think?
Well, I think, first of all, Beijing looks forward to working with a Biden administration that has a sense of organization, a sense of purpose, and a sense of sequencing diplomatic events of this kind. It is not to say that the Biden administration has some kind of different view of Beijing. I think Secretary Austin made it very clear they are a very tough competitor, and they've been very tough on some of our allies. But I think in light of that, it's been very important that the U.S. sit down with those allies and make sure we're kind of singing from the same sheet of music, because this is not a short-term project dealing with China. This is not something that's going to last for a couple of months. This will probably last the entire lifespan of the Biden administration. It's important we get it right. It's important we talk to our allies. It's important we not have mixed messages. And it's important that we keep each other informed. So I think it's a very good sequencing of first talking to the allies and then afterwards talking to the Chinese. And there are things we've got to talk to the Chinese about, but we need to make clear with our allies what we're doing, why we're doing it, and make sure we're in sync.
The bigger picture here, is this the moment when two of Biden's major foreign policy ambitions intersect, repairing relations with traditional allies while at the same time putting together a united front to try and deal or contain China?
I think to some extent that's absolutely right. Obviously, we have extremely important allies in Europe, and we will be working with those allies in Europe, and they have some of their own issues, including, by the way, dealing with China. But I think dealing with some of these frontline allies, such as South Korea and Japan, going through the list of issues we have, a big part of it is China, but we also have North Korean issues. So I think it does show a real purposefulness of this trip, and just as a professional diplomat, it's really nice to see the degree of organization. You get the sense that people know what their mission is, they know what they're going to be doing, and they know what they're going to be doing next. So for those of us who in this profession, it's good to see.
Yeah, it is reassuring on many levels, but at the same time as we're having North Korea, which appears to be ramping up its illicit nuclear missile programs. The website 38 North, very reliable, closely monitors the North, reports that satellite images have detected increased activity at the Yongbyon Nuclear Center, as well as radiochemical laboratory and uranium enrichment plant. And a U.S. Northern Military Command says the North Korean regime has also indicated it is no longer bound by the unilateral nuclear and ICBM testing moratorium announced in 2018, suggesting Kim Jong-un may begin flight testing an improved ICBM sometime soon. On Tuesday, we found out also that a U.S. approach to the North was rebuffed. Here's the Secretary of State.
To reduce the risks of escalation, we reached out to the North Korean government through several channels, starting in mid-February, including in New York. To date, we have not received a response from Pyongyang.
Is that unusual? And is this now a case that after Kim Jong-un met one-on-one with President Trump on 3 separate occasions, has that set the bar now for what Pyongyang considers to be normal diplomatic relations? It talks at a lower level or just a non-starter?
Well, I think the North Koreans understand that the Biden administration is quite seized with the issue of North Korea. This is not a question of ignoring the issue, as these early attempts at contact suggested. But I think it's also very appropriate that the Biden administration is reaching out to allies first, and frankly, also going to be talking to the Chinese, because I suspect the issue of North Korea will also come onto that agenda in Alaska. So I think it's very important that the administration start dealing with this at an early date. How the North Koreans are going to handle it is hard to guess at this point. In the past, they have fired off missiles. They've conducted tests as a kind of attention getter. It's not to be ruled out that this is what is going on now, but I think what is vital about how we handle this is that we work with partners and allies, and that seems to be the thrust of what we're doing.
Very quickly, we're out of time, but just to bring this full circle, is North Korea the issue which could break the ice between Beijing and Washington?
Oh, I think there are a number of issues, but I think it is important to sit down and go through all these issues. This problem didn't come up yesterday, and it didn't start with the Trump administration. This is a big major league problem to deal with the Chinese, and obviously progress on North Korea would be helpful.
Ambassador, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.